agent made a statement that says if black people make overcoming disadvantages too much of their culture and brand, not going to want to overcome them because then they become less black.
There's validity in that.
For
but
real,
to strictly put that on black people and
Well-
to say that we continually publicize the struggle and we make that our brand, then we don't want to get out of it. I don't think that's fair. So it's been a crazy week for Kanye West.
Crazy week.
And he goes from fashion show in Paris where he wears a White Lives Matter shirt to beefing with various hip hop celebrities around the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So Sticks, let's get right into it, man. Kanye West officially changed his name to Ye.
Ye. Mm-hmm.
Had a fashion show in Paris wearing a White Lives Matter t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
He's received public backlash about it from various races and some of the fashion industry. He's also received a backlash from who he calls his brother, Diddy.
Mm-hmm.
Diddy goes on a Breakfast Club where he's asked about the situation about Kanye wearing a t-shirt in Paris. And Diddy says that Ye is a super free thinker.
I agree with that.
So yes, very much so.
Very much so.
Then he had to like kind of backtrack and clear it up to saying he's not condoning what Ye did in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
From there, they exchanged a call, which didn't end well.
Right.
And then they exchanged text messages where Ye puts on Instagram for everybody to see their text message exchange.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then Ye goes on Fox News with Tucker Carlson and does an interview where he says he doesn't really care about the backlash and goes on to talk about various topics, political, different companies, his company, his mother, Kim, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. His dad, some more stuff.
His dad, yeah. And he talks about being greenlit, which greenlit means, or green light,
or fault, whatever.
Somebody harming you.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you, Sticks, is how do you feel about this week's antics from Kanye and everything else around that whole situation?
So of course, and I called him my good friend, but of course he was in Paris at Fashion Week with Candace Owens, right?
Your great friend.
My good friend Candace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to be perfectly honest, bro, seeing as how Candace Owens is a public figure and she has a podcast, she talks about a lot of controversial and political issues going around in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
She has had it out for BLM since day one.
Yep.
Right. I honestly think that they did this as a publicity stunt. My personal opinion. I think they did it as a publicity stunt to bring eyes to them so they can have a public forum to talk about what they really want to talk about. The issue ain't the shirt. That's not the issue to them. They don't give a damn about what people think about them wearing that shirt.
Mm-hmm.
They wore the shirt to, oh my God, what the like they're two black people wearing a White Lives Matter shirt.
Mm-hmm.
So that brought the eyes. Millions and millions of people are talking about Candace Owens and Ye right now.
Yeah.
But that wasn't what they wanted. They wanted to bring eyes to them to talk about other issues because Candace Owens went on her podcast on YouTube and put down a bunch of different stats about what is really wrong with the black community and how she really feels. Now, did you go into that?
I did not see that. Nope.
Okay.
You gotta let me know what she said.
All right. So first of all, Candace Owens is doing a full documentary, probably like a couple of episode documentary that's going to be releasing soon, exposing BLM for fraud, which is supposed to release. Right.
I did see that.
And then Kanye posts on his Instagram as well that everybody knows that Black Lives Matter was a scam. Now it's over. You're welcome. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now we did an episode. We did a segment on our podcast a couple of weeks ago about BLM and how the people in the organization were fraudulent. I don't personally believe that the whole movement itself was fraudulent. I think it had a lot of good to it. It actually brought a lot of awareness to a lot of things in the Black community, especially police brutality. I don't agree with the movement being fraudulent. I do believe that the people behind it were terrible people.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, to me, D-Lo, and you can see it, you can agree or disagree with me on this. The crazy thing to me with this is that people are so worried about a White Lives Matter t-shirt. But I don't know anybody in my circle or even in media other than Fox News that was even talking about the organization stealing the money. Did you hear about it?
No, not really. No, I haven't.
No, man, CNN wasn't talking about it. No famous podcasters, no famous, nobody of any stature was talking about it. I saw a couple of reaction channels on YouTube, and we talked about it, but it wasn't
You
exposed,
mean recently?
Period.
Yeah, I mean, so it had to be talked about in order for us to in the media circuit, and I'm not taking the side of the media in no regards, but it had to be talked about to some degree in order for us to know that the parties inside were stealing money. So, so I mean, yeah, recently, no, you haven't heard much about it. It's been like a blip, and a blip real quick. Oh, they stealing money. On to the next story. But it hasn't been nothing in depth.
But it's crazy to me that it wasn't spoken about in depth. It wasn't broadcasted the way I think a lot of the Black community should have broadcasted it, knowing that these people are donating millions and millions and millions of dollars and they're stealing this money. Right?
Right.
But regardless of that, people are up in arms about a t-shirt, but not what's going on behind the scenes with their actual money. Right? But so no one cared about that news. But Black Lives Matter. How can I say this? There's more things in the Black community, according to Candace and Kanye, that I think people should be worried about. And a couple of things, Kanye West on the Tucker Carlson when he talked to Tucker Carlson, he was wearing an ultrasound on his neck, right? And he was saying that he was pro-life and that more babies are being killed by abortion in New York City alone than are being born. And half of Black death in America is abortion. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But Black Lives Matter, their biggest issue was police brutality. But why are we not talking about abortion? You see what I'm saying?
So that's a hot button topic. Is really abortion, and not to take away from that, but I'll say exactly what you started out saying, and then we can get right back to where we are right now. Is that when I saw the shirt and Candace Owens, my first thought is, oh hell, Kanye's trolling again. Kanye's trying to sell something again. Kanye's tripping again. And exactly what you said, I felt, is he's trying to draw eyes to discuss something bigger, right? And so you move from the shock and awe of Kanye West in a White Lives Matter t-shirt, and you come to the Tucker Carlson interview that he did. And if you actually listen to the interview and not the bites that the sound bites that various media companies put out from the interview, you hear that he had a lot to talk about. Whether you agree with it or whether you don't agree with it, he talked about various things.
Right.
And I just feel like while he is a genius, I've said that multiple times, musically and fashion-wise, if you like the type of fashion that he promotes, I'm not really a fan of it.
Me either.
If you
Some
like
of the
that type
shoes,
of
maybe, but
Yeah. They're hit or miss to me.
Yeah.
But if you like that type of fashion, he is a genius.
He is.
But we've said it multiple times. Ever since his mother has died, he's just been spiraling out of control.
Mm-hmm.
The abortion thing that he talked about with the Tucker Carlson interview, where he was referring to the ultrasound he had on his chest, to me is, and we're not political correspondents. We don't really talk about politics, but to speak on this situation, I think is him using who he is
and his platform
to help Republicans kind of combat the heatedness and the tension of America and the ruling from what happened in June 24th of this year with Roe versus Wade.
Yep.
Because in the same interview, he said it killed me that I couldn't say how much I like Trump because my people and the left were trying to keep me quiet. So now in his, as Diddy said, his ultimate super free thinking, this is how I get attention on me. Now that I have attention on me, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about and help the people that I want to help. And ultimately, he's also said, I'm going to be president one day.
He also has said that. Yep.
He said that in an interview. So if he's not going to be president in 2024, if he's not going to run, he is going to help Donald Trump and the Republicans get to back in office and whatever they decide to do. So I don't have a problem with the shirt because we all know white lives matter. We all know Black lives matter. We all know that all lives matter.
All lives matter. We all know that.
The problem that I have, and the problem that I've had with Ye for the last couple of years, even though I still engage in his music, because like I said, he's a genius, is he used all of these years up until now to profit off of our culture, to profit off of Black people. And then all of a sudden he kind of, while he says he's doing it for Blacks, it doesn't seem that way. He's kind of turned his back on us, on the Black community and the hip hop culture. And now is like ushering in he's ushering in stuff that kind of ideologies that go against what the culture is. And I get it. A lot of the topics and a lot of the culture, some of the things that we do inside of hip hop culture does need to die down. We need to kill that. But and it's most of what he is saying, but a lot of what he's saying too is like, all right, man, listen, you got to chill, because the Black Lives Matter, the movement, not the organization, was much more than just the people stealing money. It had a purpose.
It did.
And for you to take that ideology and it also was confronted with a lot of tension from white people and police and all that stuff, because they were saying we were going against this, that we were going against them. That wasn't the case. It seemed like the media riled us up, or not seemed like the media riled us up because so many Black lives were being taken from police brutality. And when we stood up for ourselves and said Black Lives Matter, it was combated with no, all lives matter. So for him to do that is like you slapping us in the face. You slapping Black people in the face, because now, because of the tension that was confronted with Black Lives Matter, when you say white lives matter, we got to confront that. Well, not we, because I really don't care. But it has to be confronted with why. Why did you do this?
Right. Because there's never been a moment in American history where it wasn't implied that white lives didn't matter.
Yeah.
They've always mattered.
All lives have always mattered.
All lives have always mattered.
We know this to a degree.
there wouldn't have been a Black Lives Matter without without the thought that it didn't. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you don't see you don't see it because it's not shown or it's not publicized because we're the only culture that pulls out a phone and records as opposed to helping, right? But
that's not necessarily true.
Well, true, but neither here nor there. But
yeah.
Yes, of course, all lives do matter. White lives, Asian lives, Black lives, whatever lives, all of them. I think everybody has a reason to be upset with the shirt because two Black people wearing that shirt, it is kind of weird. Again, I didn't think nothing of it because
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I think the reason, like I said, it was a publicity stunt because Candace Owens also said that BLM claimed to be leaders, but they were further dividing the masses. And that they wanted to show Black people that oppression and white supremacy surrounds them so they could convince the Black community to lean into this narrative that somehow their lives would be better. But then she goes on to say that was a mirage.
Yeah. But I mean, it goes back to what you started out this segment with. And that's what I'm sitting on is they use this as a stunt for their own agendas. We know 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago that Ye and Gap talked about ending their partnership for clothing. And then Kanye says, I guess in another interview that he did, I guess Sway did have all the answers. I probably will start my own company for clothing because he can do that now.
He can.
His name is big enough. He has enough money to where he can start his own company and push clothing. And also in the text messages that he showed with Diddy is he said, nobody's going to mess with my money. I'm going to sell my clothing how I want to sell my clothing. And then we also see that Candace Owens is now coming out with a documentary about Black Lives Matter, as you mentioned. So regardless of how you feel about it, how I feel about it, how the culture of hip hop feels about it, how Black people feel about it, how white people feel about it, these two individuals had an agenda for why they were in Paris, not in America, but in Paris with those shirts on, why they took the picture the way that they did. Because my thing is, I want to know what the front of the shirt says.
I don't think it said anything on the front.
Okay.
I don't think I think it was just a plain black t-shirt and a white t-shirt with the message on the back. I don't think it said anything on the front.
Okay. Well, then, so they were in a fashion show that Kanye was hosting or putting on with White Lives Matter. So it is what it is. They are clearly they clearly are promoting what they need to promote to help fatten their pockets.
And I do agree with you is that they did this to promote their own agendas because just like I said in that episode of her own podcast that she has, she stated a bunch of different stats that she thinks is what's really killing the Black community. And I'm gonna go over a couple of them, right?
Please do, because I'm interested. Because I before you go into that, I don't agree with everything that she says.
No, I don't. I don't either.
But she is a very smart person that does her due diligence and digs into certain topics. And I like to hear what she says, and then based off of what she says, I can say, okay,
yeah.
My logical thinking, my analytical mind can say, okay, this made sense. She's a bit off here, but generally speaking, with Candace Owens, she's not far off of what she is saying, but because of the climate that we're in politically, where you're either an extreme right or extreme left, there's really nobody in the middle, like they want us to think. It's the far left has like claimed all of her ideas are just far-fetched, so people tune her out. You can't tune her out. You have to listen to what she's saying and then decipher for yourself what the information is that she's putting out. Does it make sense for you, and do you believe in what she's saying? So with that being said, go ahead and say what you said, man. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. So the first stat she said was 117,626 Black children were aborted in 2018 in the U.S. She also said that abortion in America has contributed to the greatest decline in the Black population since the first Black slaves arrived in the United States. Within the Black community, abortion is compared to, I don't know if I can say this word, but I'm going to say it, lynching, right?
Mm-hmm.
But between 1883 and 1941, 4,467 people were lynched in the U.S. 66% of them were Black.
Mm-hmm.
20 million Black infants have been aborted since abortion was made legal.
Mm-hmm.
In the United States, the abortion rate is higher than the live birth rate. 79% of abortion clinics are in walking distance of Black and brown communities. She said also, brought up obesity. She said that obesity is the number one killer in the Black community, and Black women have the highest rates of obesity, being 57% of that number.
Mm-hmm.
Black on Black crime with African Americans are 4 times more likely to be killed by a gun than any other race. Black men account for 40% of all homicide in the US, and Black men are only 7% of the entire population. Black men are 5 times more Black men are in jail than white men. Mm-hmm. But people don't want to talk about the fact that Black men are the most murderous in the nation.
Are they?
40% of all homicide are by Black men, and only 7% of Black men claim the population.
But okay, so what we know based off of studies, mm-hmm. and this fact could be disputed as well, but you can put any number to anything and make it factual.
For sure.
So regardless of that, I think we all know the situations that the majority of the living situations that the majority of African Blacks live in this country. Mm-hmm. Most of them live in poverty or extreme poverty. They live mm-hmm. in neighborhoods that aren't safe because of that poverty. Mm-hmm. That's what plays into all of the facts that she put out, other than the abortion, right?
Right.
The crime and the killings play into all of that. Mm-hmm. So while those facts may be true, mm-hmm. it only tells a portion of, and this is what I'm saying when you listen to the facts that she puts out, mm-hmm. is that there's truth to that, but then let's take a deeper dive into why that is. We know why Black on Black crime happens. We know why white on white crime happens for the most part. Mm-hmm. We know that systemically our country has put us in jail for stuff that they would let others out, or, give them a lesser crime, a sentence for. We mm-hmm. know that. Mm-hmm. So again, what she said, it makes sense. It probably is factual, but it's also, you need to take a deeper dive into that before you just listen
100%.
And digest that information. And I think this took this segment took a different turn than I expected it to, but it's all good.
I got you.
Yeah, but
it all plays into the fact that the shirt to them didn't matter. It didn't matter. They wore it to draw eyes. They mm-hmm. really wore that shirt to, like you said, to promote what they really, really wanted to talk about. And these stats, honestly, is what Candace really wanted to bring forth, because she legit hates BLM. She can't stand it.
Yeah, we know that.
She legitimately said that the culture promotes the breakdown of Black community, and BLM has stripped our community families further, and intends to undermine the BLM movement 100%. She can't mm-hmm. stand it. So, but I mean, and just like you said, man, whenever I read it, whenever I was listening to her podcast and I was listening to these things, my first thought went to, okay, I can understand where she's coming from with saying that these stats were the most important things to us, because what BLM was promoting was police brutality most of the time. But why? My mind went to, why was the owners or the leaders of this organization stealing the money when they could have put this money into these communities that were going through all of these statistics? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can help use those millions, almost billions of dollars that were donated to this organization and put into these things. Like, try to figure out how you can help these communities and take them out of poverty and try to stop this systemic racism or racism that's going on. So it's like, I mean, to me, like I said, the movement itself was amazing. The leaders, of course, were terrible people, but it could have been done so much better. And like I said, whenever we talked about it 2 weeks ago, it's going to have to be somebody within that organization that steps up and says, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to do this way better than we've done in the past. And we're going to actually use this platform that we have and uplift the Black community more so than we have ever done before. It's going to take somebody to do that, man, and actually use that money for good, because as of right now, I fucks with BLM and what the movement stands for, but somebody has to take the reins and do it better.
Yeah.
Because Candace on their ass.
Well, she been on it though.
She been on it.
She been on it, and so I guess I don't know where to go from here.
Well, so I'm gonna leave it on this point, and we can go to the next step. We can go to the next segment. I was watching. I watch a reaction channel called Playback, and it's Agent Zero. He's really a 2K YouTuber, and his best friend, his name is Legend of Winning. But Agent made a statement that says, if Black people make overcoming disadvantages too much of their culture and brand, then they are not going to want to overcome them, because then they become less Black. How do you feel about that?
Say that again.
If Black people make overcoming disadvantages too much of their culture and brand, then they are not going to want to overcome them, because then they become less Black. And this is the example he gave, right? We all know who LeBron James is.
Yeah.
Young kid from Akron, Ohio, who overcame everything and all his obstacles and all of his adversity to become the man that he is today, right? His son, Bronny, just celebrated his 18th birthday. And a lot of people in media are saying that Bronny is whitewashed, he's not Black enough, this, that, and the third, because he was given these advantages by his dad, who overcame everything. So that's where he got that statement from, is that if Black people keep overcoming these disadvantages, then they become less Black. And Bronny was his example.
I can't. So with that example, I can't say that I agree. But I can understand where he's coming from. So the reason I can't say that I agree is because, well, okay, so we're saying what Black, most, not all, we can't generalize, what most Black people are into is hip hop culture. Hip hop culture, they represent, what it is now is the struggle, getting out of it. Most artists come out, talk about drug dealing and whatnot, and then how much money they got because of this and because of that. I mean, I recall when I was in college, we talked about how hard it was in Fayetteville and whatnot, and that's how most of the athletes connected with the cities that they grew up in and how hard it was. So, I mean, and I can understand where he's coming from, but I think as you mature, if he's talking about kids, okay, yeah, his statement has some validity. If he's talking about grown adults, I could care less if somebody feels like my struggle, what I've accomplished as a person makes me less black. I'm pretty sure you feel the same way as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if he's talking about kids, how old is he again? He's
who, Bronny or Agent?
Well, I know Bronny's 18, Agent Zero. He's
26, 27.
So he's still, I mean, he's grown,
relatively
but he's
young.
relatively young. So he's looking at it from a younger mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I could care less if, I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. That's complicated. I guess if it's complicated, then the statement is true. But the really, I want to say no, but I guess, like I said, if it's complicated, then the statement he made is true.
I believe that I'm with you. I could care less if somebody thinks that I'm whitewashed because I overcame my struggle and I succeeded. I don't give a fuck. I'm doing what I need to do for myself, my daughter, and whatever family I build in the future. I don't care what you think about me personally. I rarely ever care about what people think about me, to be honest. But we do have a stigma in the black community sometimes. Not all black people do this, but some do this. That if you grow up with somebody or you see somebody doing better than what you're doing, then you have that hate for that person. And not just black communities do this. All communities do it. But the whitewash comes from people hating on your success because you're doing better than them. And that's what I think Agent was trying to say was, if you make this more of your brand to overcome these disadvantages that you've been dealt in your life, then you become less black because the people around you now believe that you're whitewashed because you're doing better than them. And if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. And I want to pop. You feel me?
But the reason I can't really go for that is because all communities
do it. Correct. I agree.
Now the reason it is an issue or a challenge for the black community is because hip hop is mainstream now, and that we associate, again, most people, not all, most black people associate themselves as hip hop, and if we are associating ourselves with hip hop, then of course the most of the things that they talk about in hip hop is what we have to take on as a collective. But in the grand scheme of things, we don't really. I don't know. Again, it is complicated. It's complicated because you got to layer in how the media portrays, not just hip hop, how the media portrays black folks in the hip hop culture, and how the system portrays black folks in the hip hop culture. And then you got to marry in what we think of ourselves, where no one shoe fits everybody.
Right.
So I really don't like this segment. I'm gonna be honest with you. I got to this point and now I'm like, I really don't like this segment, but I mean, we can keep it in.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah,
now, I mean, it's a topic that we have to talk about because there are a lot of things that are going on that I don't think a lot of our people in the black community know about or even care to even research. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the things that Miss Owens and a lot of the things that Ye are trying to bring to light are bigger issues that are what's really killing our community. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it's good information that the people need to hear for sure.
Yeah, but the thing is, we aren't the only ones dealing with this issue. But there's just as many. So the percentages are because we make up a smaller percentage of this country. But there are just as many white people or white babies that die every year from abortion. there's just as many white people every year that die from white on white crime. There's just as many. I mean, yeah, we make up a smaller percentage. We have a larger percentage of our people that live in the struggle. So yes, the struggle is going to be what we publicize and what we represent, because that is what the bulk of us live in.
Right.
But to strictly put that on black people, and I'm not taking away from what she said. There's validity in that, but to strictly put that on black people, to say that if we continually publicize the struggle and we make that our brand, then we don't want to get out of it. I don't think that's fair.
I don't think that's what he was necessarily saying. I think so. Candace Owens, what was said in those stats was honestly because she's trying to let the black community know that these are things we need to change to be able to get out of the struggle. These are the things we're doing to ourselves that keep us down here, or what people perceive as low, right?
But we aren't the only people that go through that.
I agree with that, but she don't need to talk to white people. She need to talk to us. She's black. Ye is black. They don't need to talk to white folk. They're trying to build the white community because it's already so. So the black community is what they're trying to bring up. The white community, there's a such thing as white privilege, but there's not a such thing as black privilege. White privilege is going to be there forever. We need
not necessarily. So the reason there's white there, the reason that there is white privilege is because right now the system that we live in, the game that we have to play, was made up by white people. If for some reason black people or Mexicans, Asians, whatever, overtake white people as the predominant power in America, which they're predicting to happen in 20 years, then there will be such thing as Asian privilege or black privilege or whatever the race is that is sitting at top is going to be the privilege. They don't want that to happen. And so what is going on right now, and I don't care either way.
Right.
I sit at the center of all this shit. I don't care what the left is talking about, what the right is talking about. But what I'm saying, what is going on right now, and why I felt like this segment was, I was like, I don't like this segment, is because what really is going on is Candace Owens and Kanye West are being pimped, I believe, to bring black people to the right, so that Republicans don't have to go through what they are going through right now, trying to say that the election in 2020,
I ain't gonna lie. Go ahead.
That the 2020 was not legitimate. They don't want it. So it has been said, I don't know how many times in the last year, that it is crucial that whatever party wins the election, because that is, if the whatever party loses, they're going to fight like hell to make sure it's going to be a civil war, basically.
Okay.
And so in order to combat that and to take some of the steam off of the right, you have these systems and these agendas put in place. Again, I don't care. I feel like we supposedly live in a free country. For the most part, you should be able to make your mind up and do, as long as you're not killing a physical person, you should be able to do what you feel, or, as long as you're making a morally right decision. And I guess you can put that in the air, abortion, as, is it moral or is it not moral?
Right.
But as long as you're making the right moral decision, you should be able to do what you want to do.
You want as a free country, correct?
In a free country. But because we live in a climate where everything is just tension, you're extreme if you say this, you're extreme if you say that, you get this type of shit. You get these type of propaganda, I want to say, from people that have a huge platform to draw attention and draw eyes, and then really talk about shit they really shouldn't even be. Maybe Candace Owens, but Kanye, come on, bro. How many? I mean, he's married. He was married to Kim Kardashian. It just recently he's turned this leaf. Before that, like I said, he was profiting off of the culture.
Mm-hmm.
So and the last 2 years, shit like this happens. He gets backlash, and then he's remorseful. He retreats. He goes away for a while, and then comes back, and something else crazy happens because he's trying to sell something.
Gotcha.
When he was promoting Donda, something crazy came out that he did.
What was that? Remember?
It was, what did he do? I forgot exactly what it was, but he was just like on these manic. Well, I don't know if they were manic or not, but that was what the media said. Is that he was on these manic episodes. He was just doing crazy stuff. I can't remember exactly what it was, and then all of a sudden we heard, oh, Donda is coming out. So I mean,
like you said, this segment took a little bit of a turn. It took a different turn than we both thought it was going to take. But a lot of the things that they both portray are things that I think the Black community do need to look into. But I do agree with you that it's not just the Black community going through these things. It's happening in every single community across the world. It's just that our culture is such in the forefront of everything that it's more in the public eye, and it seems worse because we are looked at differently, I think. You know what I'm saying? So I mean,
we're looked at differently. How though?
Because of the systemic issues that are going on. We're so much more free to speak out about the things that are happening to us. So they're publicized more and there's more eyes on it to be able to say, okay, the Black people are going through this and we need to figure out how to stop it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I don't believe that Candace Owens should fight to break down BLM because it has good in it. The people aren't, but the movement is. But I also think that outside of police brutality, there are some other things that us as a community, us as a nation should worry about. You know what I'm saying? And I do agree with you as well, is that they're being used as puppets to bring Black people to the right.
They are.
That was a good topic. That was a good point that you made. It was like they're both heavily Republican, and most Black people are Democratic, and they are trying to be. They're using them to try to bring people more to the right. I agree.
I can't say Candace Owens specifically, even though she will get some Black ears to perk up just because of what she represents. You know, so as of lately, it's been the outrage tactic that they use as far as outrage marketing is what is being used. You draw people up and get them all riled up, and then that's when you deliver the real message. So she's good at that because of the last couple of years, what she represents. Now, Kanye, we all know what Kanye means to the hip hop community. And so for him to 3 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, come out and say he's pro-Trump. Okay.
Yeah.
You're pro-Trump. And then now again, and then he goes quiet on it. And then he comes back and he's like, I'm this, I'm that. Of course, our people are going to be like, what's up?
Right.
Like, you were 10 years ago, you were just all with us. You were pro Obama and all that. But now you not. What's up? And I get it. There are topics that can't be crossed that both parties are pushing right now. So it may be a major topic that's near and dear to him that he all of a sudden isn't with, that the Democrats push, that he's more conservative on. But I can't say for sure that he's being used, but I feel like he's being used right now, especially with him. The thing that made me feel like he is being used is it made me feel so upset that I couldn't express my love for Donald Trump.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But you also said you were running for president too. So are you in love with Donald Trump so much that you don't want to run for president until he leaves?
Mm-hmm.
Or so that's another that's just been Ye for the last 2 years. He's been so contradictory. He'll say one thing, then he'll back it up. He'll feel remorseful. He'll leave, and he'll come back and he'll say some crazy wild shit.
Yeah.
And then he just rinse and repeats that whole thing. So me, for this segment, and we're talking about Ye, I feel like in a couple weeks we're gonna hear he didn't mean all of it, or he didn't mean some of it. He's gonna retract most of what he said, try to get us back in, and then he's gonna do the same shit over and over. He's gonna
spiral again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you. Well, hopefully, you know what I'm saying, you know, the community kind of gains an understanding of who Ye really is.
Yeah.
And how he really does these tactics, because it's definitely a whirlwind right now with him.
Yeah. And I'll say this. Everything that you said about Candace Owens and the stats, yes, the Black community needs to look into that. But Black people are not the only group that deals with that. And I get that they don't have to be messengers for the white community, or they don't have to send this message to the white community because they are Black. But don't patrol this, or don't portray this as only a Black issue.
Don't denigrate
and
the Black
to me,
community.
And that's what it seems like to me. When you read those stats, I took it that way, and maybe I should have took my feelings out of that. But yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. And like I said, they don't necessarily. If we're like you said, white privilege lives because they're the ones at the top right now. But if Black people were to fix these issues, then it puts them closer to the top. And now there's a Black privilege or Asian privilege or whatever privilege that there shouldn't be any privilege. We should all live as one. It should all be free to do whatever the fuck we want to do in America, right? But if there is, it is, and if there is a white privilege, then if we do these things to keep our community from dying, so to speak, is what they talk about. We're killing our own community. Then we'll be closer to that level, to where we can be right there and say, okay, there's a, we're the majority of this nation, and we can be strong in this nation, and we can be powerful in this nation. And that's what they're trying to. I think that's what they're trying to say. But again, Black people are not the only ones with these issues. I agree.
Man, with stuff like this, it's so much deeper than what
it is
we are even talking about right now. Because again, while the Black community is not the only community dealing with this, the numbers as a whole, not just the Black community in the United States, for birth rate were negative last year.
Yeah.
What's going on in the world right now? Russia is invading Ukraine. China's talking about taking over Taiwan. China and Russia have had a strong relationship for I don't know how long in the last couple years. They're talking about a superpower coming out in the next few years. I forget the names of the Russia, China, Brazil, India, and some other country. They're talking about being a superpower. China's one of the largest countries in the world. India is one of the largest countries in the world. Brazil is one of the largest countries in the world. So if the United States has a negative birth rate, and you have those three countries that are supposed to be converted together, combined together, while we have the strongest military in the world, that's a big ass battle that we have. That's a big ass battle we have to take on. So as a whole, it's not. That's why I say it's not just a Black issue. And
I agree.
I felt that was an attack on Black individuals in general. But it's not just a Black issue. It's a whole United States issue. But it's not just abortion. It's not just abortion that's gonna help combat the negative birth rate. It's much more than that.
I got you.
Because you have people that are our age that can't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
You have, we have people that are our age that don't want to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
You have kids, or you have 20-year-olds that say they're not ever having kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it's much more than just
then
abortion.
You have
and I know
the LGBT community that unless they, go through some other routes, they can't have kids either. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
And that's only 1% of the population statistically, but it's much more than that.
Yeah.
And I know, like I said, I know abortion is a hot topic right now because of the rights that have been stripped. And
I've always been pro-choice. You know what I'm saying? That's just my stance on it, but that's neither here nor there. But I agree with you, bro. I agree with you. We can definitely move on.
We can agree to disagree. It's fine if you disagree with me.
I don't disagree in the least bit. Me and you are on the same page with our thoughts on this topic, and what the stats say and things of that nature. I do think that we as a community need to take it more serious. Mm-hmm. And if we do, we will rise to the top faster. That's what I think.
It's a lot of things that we as a community, and I know this segment is long as I don't know what, but it's a lot of things that our community could take seriously. But it's the game that we've been placed in.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So we are playing. It's the game that we've been placed in, and it's a lot of rules to the game that we didn't know until just recently. Mm-hmm. So we are trying to catch up.
We're playing catch up
and play the game and get back ahead in the game that we were placed in. Mm-hmm. And so to certain people, us doing what our culture does now in the game that we've been placed in is going to seem wrong, but they've been doing it for all up the way up until now.
Years and years. Yep.
So yeah, that's all I'm saying. That's why I said what I said.
Yeah. And I appreciate your opinion on that, man. And like I said, I agree with you. So we just need to, kind of figure out how us as a community can, fix things and take it a little bit more serious. But we good though.
And all of a sudden he walks up on Jordan. Mm-hmm. Mistake number 1 for Jordan Poole. Mistake number 2, didn't put his guard up. He just sits there. Met by a straight right hand to Jordan Poole's jaw from Draymond Green. End of fight.
It wasn't a fight. Because once it's on the internet, it live forever. So this is who Draymond is.